I got set. This recording? Is this recording?
No, but what you say?
Doodle garbage. Oh, just real quick. We gotta go on. Somebody humped it. They humped it.
What you say?
Doodle garbage. Like
No recording, no recording, no recording, no recording, no recording.
Like I said, clip farming has gone way too far. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with the situation, it looks like DDG has had enough of the clip farms of the nicknames. And to be honest with you, I think that this serves as a good and fair warning for those that are coming into any sort of place and space thinking that they can just clip farm. Like I've been telling people on this platform before, clip farming is not a way to make a career. It's not something that's long lasting. It's not something that is fulfilling. And ultimately, like in this situation, it led to some sort of physical violence. People don't realize these content creators can totally get upset with the clip farming and the name calling and the stuff that you get off. These people have real feelings too. So DDG gave people a fair warning just a couple days ago that if they continue with the clip farms, if they continue throwing these insults, if they continue with the name calling, then this is going to be the situation at hand.
If a fan came up to me on some doodle garbage, bro, I'ma hold that so goddamn bad, bro. No better.
Now, whether you believe DDG or not, this doo-doo garbage, name calling or insult that stemmed from Bruce dropping him off in his beef just a couple months ago is clearly affecting him. And I know that some people might think that he's soft or whatever the case may be, but the reality of the situation is if they don't know you, they're not going to tolerate it. And besides that fact, why do people think that this is the way to get content? Like, I think that this is so short-sighted, and maybe they've been influenced by whoever and whatever or whatever the case may be. But even like Agent says, something that I agree with, clip farming and doing this sort of content is something that is not going to build you an audience. It's not something that's going to be long-lasting, and ultimately you are going to be forgotten the next day.
Why they disrespecting him like that though? If you gonna yap nonsense to a right in front of his face, you gotta be prepared for them consequences. It's not even clip farming, it's just being trolls, bro. It's just trying to be remembered. They don't even give a f out of being remembered. Like, bro, you're gonna be remembered as I just chose to troll, bro, and then we will never hear of you again.
And I do agree with Agent, but the foundation of streaming has totally shifted in the past couple of years, where this is what people see as entertainment. This is what people see as the content. They believe that getting their name out there no matter what and no matter what expense is the way to go about doing these things. But ultimately, what he's saying is 1,000% right. At best, this guy will be remembered as the guy who got snuffed out by Dub and whatever cameraman and DDG and his whole collective. At worst, he'll be back to punching the clock. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you did all this in an attempt to become famous for what? Now, I'm not advocating for physical violence, so I wanted to see what Dub and DDG and the rest of the gang had to say about this, because although I don't agree with people insulting people, I do want to give them the benefit of the doubt and hear them out at least.
Grab me, I hit the. So then I'm like, bro, what the f? It was like a large crowd, and security grabbed me. I'm like, bro,
I see Tiny sleep dog, boy. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, my didn't even get on that.
Nah, yes it did.
No, it didn't.
Yes it did. I see Jason holding your camera and everything.
No, but I had no signal. I had 200.
Nah, your had signal when we did that skit.
Yeah, they said it didn't show anything.
Nah, I know, but still, like, you know how that be, bro. They banned Kelly for a skit, man. I ain't trying to get banned for a skit.
Now, I think DDG was really just trying to save face here. He didn't want to get banned from the con. He didn't want any sorts of issues with Twitch, any sort of lawsuit or anything like that, and he'll deal with it in the private eye. I think that he's a very strategic and tactical person, so, doing those things, he's good at covering them up. But ultimately, at the end of the day, and I can give this perspective because I am literally on the grounds of DreamCon. I came down for the weekend, and I'm recording this video hours after the situation happened. None of this really did anything at the con. None of this shook the airwaves. And all this guy got was the brakes beat off him. He was so unmemorable after the situation, it's almost amazing, which has me thinking again about points that I've had in the past about clip farming and what it does for you. In my last video about Streamer University, I had a take about these new content creators getting into this lane and don't rely on clip farming because it is not going to be something that will benefit you in the long run. If you don't remember, there were some content creators who had broke into Agent 00's room because they thought that he was running some black market and wanted to play into this whole theme of I'm taking advantage of the black market, stealing from it. But they literally broke into his actual room where actual things are, and it did not turn out the best for these guys.
Where is Jay at? Y'all think it's appropriate to come in my room when I'm not there? It's a difference between content.
Even in that interaction, No Limit Jay still doesn't understand the difference. Agent is seriously looking for him and voluntarily says, I'm right here. Now, I don't think he's being forthcoming and truthfully saying, hey, this is me, I'm No Limit Jay. I think he still thinks that this is still a part of some elaborate skit and scam, but he doesn't realize that he's crossed the line. He's literally broke into somebody's room, and all for the sake of getting a clip off. Now, in Agent's sit down and hashing out of the situation, he gave No Limit Jay a warning, something that we've been giving out for a long time that a lot of these content creators do not understand.
I didn't think this was actually your personal room. They said black market. They said Asian black market. They said this room. So I came up here.
It has beds, it has things. Like
no, I know, but I'm not thinking, there's
so
multiple
look, bro,
rooms.
there's if you came in here and on some content busted in the room. If I'm in the room, I'm saying.
Right.
You coming in here without a camera, you got to think, oh, we just minimize it. My analytics is up.
No,
like,
no,
my
I didn't come
stream
here.
is up.
That's
my
what I'm saying,
count is up.
though.
It doesn't
I
matter.
understand that.
You came in the room.
Right.
You didn't know where the stuff was, right?
You're right.
Because we hit it.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't come all in these rooms like that. I was
Bro,
just peeking around,
just
and then we
let
walked
me
in there.
let me share some intel with you, my. There's lines, bro.
And while I get what Agent is saying, and I totally wholeheartedly agree, we have to look back at what's been happening over the past couple of years with content creation and realize that a lot of the stuff that's going on today are from actions of the past, stuff that we should have stopped and nipped in the bud a long time ago. But because we are now here, we're getting mad at basically these new creators for doing these things that their favorite creators have been doing in the past. Like, they're convinced that this is their way out. Like, this is the way to get a bunch of money, and they're willing to do any and everything in order to get that money.
All right, y'all. I guess I'm getting fired.
We knew that.
Yes!
Wait, what?
When the fuck I said the same shit.
Corey 2U was a big success at Streamer University. Took advantage of the whole situation, had DDG react to him and his clip farming attempts, and it went over fairly well. He didn't put anybody in harm's way. But the idea of creating the content being just a continuous clip farm for what he says to be money, to me, just doesn't sit right. Because I have to ask, how far are you willing to go?
I went to Streamer U broke. My account was negative 612. My credit cards were maxed out, all because of content. I owed $322.50 on the Cash App. You know what's crazy, Chad? I had no bread to get back on that flight and check in any bags. I'm telling you, God is real, bro.
An inspirational story, but a warning sign nonetheless, because at the end of the day, there's something that is supposed to be more aspirational and inspirational to content creation than getting the money from doing said content creation. Because all that happens is you realize that the negative things, the clip farms, the over-the-top takes are the things that reign supreme. So you're willing to do any and everything in order to basically get it off. So once they start to learn that people like DDG are essentially the method, they're going to continue to rehash that over and over and over and over again, even if it means getting hands put on you or distracting from what is supposed to be a beautiful moment at something like Streamer University, where people are coming to actually physically learn.
Garbage.
Who said that?
Who said that? You want to escort him out?
No, who said that?
No, I was answering his question.
Get out.
Please. They talking about. I'm with Bruce. I'm a plant. What they talking about? DEO trying to die.
Another issue that I have with clip farming is that these people get so wrapped up into it, instead of building the actual audience, but going for the clicks and the views, that it ultimately becomes their brand, and it can be damaging. I know y'all are tired of me beating this dead horse, but this is basically the Zoe Spencer paradox. Going out there, doing whatever it takes in order to continuously get some sort of traction, likes, or views, that it becomes your brand, to the point where you have the internet blasting you and calling you annoying for who you are.
I don't think Zoe's I don't think she's annoying. I think that's kind of her brand though, bro. So like, if you're not comfortable around it, then you're not comfortable around it. But that's just her brand, bro.
Now, with that being said, all of that could be true. It could be her brand, but at some point, people are ultimately going to get tired of this persona. There's nothing genuine about you. You're just wanting to and willing to whip out a phone and a camera in order to capture any moment. And that could be at anybody's expense. And ultimately, this will blow over sooner rather than later. But right now, this stain on her image of being annoying or being some person who commits SA without any sort of context behind it is hurting her in a bigger way than it is helping her. Now, with the clip farming at an all-time high, it begs the question, should there be some sort of ramifications for clip farmers? Now, I don't know what that is outside of just a community shunning. And ultimately, I think that the views will be reflective of the content that they put out. Because what I've noticed this past weekend is that a lot of these clip farmers, a lot of these new age streamers, a lot of these people wanting to participate in this content really don't have a plan.
Making the Stallions few tequila, so you get to test it out and take a picture in the photo booth.
I don't know, it's really free Tory, so I don't know. I said it's free Tory. We signed with my man's Tory.
They're just out there trying to get the most outlandish clips possible.
No. Bro. Whoa. Hey, you guys.
Hi.
Hey, what's up? And it's going to be like, that's you. Who's coming with us?
I'm echoing my sentiments from the Streamer University video and live stream that I did just last week. Again, in this video, I saw a bunch of up-and-coming content creators, you know, people aspiring to be content creators, truly not knowing what they're doing, not having a plan, not having a direction, not having an identity outside of trying to get the best clip possible. What did that woman try to gain from telling Agent that he's so fine she would suck his dick? Like, I understand the moment and it's funny or whatever the case may be, but how do you go about building a brand on top of that? I understand the guy doing the fake pass out thing. It's funny for the moment until it's not funny for the moment. And it gets not funny for the moment very, very fast. These are people that don't have any sort of repackaging plan for their content, you know, throw it up thumbnail title. They don't have any way of feeding it to another audience. They are literally searching for and looking for the biggest content creators at the convention or at whatever establishment they're at or whatever moment that they can get and trying to get some sort of clip from that. Like, how will that young lady go about uploading that video to a YouTube or to a Twitter? What thumbnail title? I told Agent 00 I would suck his dick. I told the biggest content creators at the con I would suck their dicks. Is that content? I don't think that that's content. That's just a clip. And that clip is not going to be long lasting. Ultimately, we knew that clip farming would get to a point where people were basically getting their hands and feet placed on them by anybody else because they are going over the top. And I don't condone what DDG, Dub, and the cameraman did to that young man today, but please let this be a warning to a bunch of people out there. Clip farming isn't content. Look, I want to take a second here at the end of this video to do something that I don't normally get to do. By the time this uploads and is out for a couple hours, I'm projecting that we will cross 100,000 subs. Thank God. Finally, we did it. We made it as a community, as a whole. You know that I'm going to always say I could never do anything like this without viewers like you and the ability to share some of these videos. Thank you guys for sticking with me through the ups and the downs. You know, a couple months ago when I got some copyright claims, a lot of people were saying they couldn't see my content or find my content, but you stuck through it and you didn't choose another commentary channel, you know, that provided you with the content that I can provide you with. I'm very appreciative of that. Appreciative? Thank you for everybody who came up to me at DreamCon and stopped me and decided to take pictures and stuff like that. You guys are the reason that I make these videos. Shouts out to, you know, other commentary channels like 4D Shams, like Cameron, like Abba and Preach. Shouts out to Playback. These are the guys that give the inspiration for the videos. Sometimes I'm straight ripping y'all's content. I'm not gonna lie to you, but without you guys, I also would not be here. You know, 4D Shams, it's up to you now. You next one up. Shout out to everybody on my team. For most people that don't know, I don't edit the videos. I don't, you know, create the thumbnails or anything like that. While I'm part of the process, I have a whole team behind me that's doing these things. So shout out to Ankle, shout out to Cardiac, shout out to Toyin, shout out to Dexter, shout out to everybody that's been a part of my channel. Even if you've been on my channel from the early beginning, shouts out to Dre, Crano, Af, Caleb, whoever who has been a part of my channel, shouts out to you guys. And last but not least, shouts out to 4 very, very, very important people in this content creation journey. I promise you guys I would not be here without these 4 people specifically. Shouts out to Let's Keep It a Buck, the podcast in which that got me into content creation as a solo act and just on YouTube in general. I mean, without those guys, if you know, you know. If you don't, click on the channel. It's another place to get more content from me and just 3 friends that I found on the internet that have met up with us in real life, and we have taken over in so many aspects. And last but not least, shout out to my fiance, of course. She puts up with a lot of me screaming and yelling at 4 in the morning just to get to this point here. Look, I don't want to make this a long yap fest, but this is a very special moment. 100K is just a stop on the journey. The next point is 1 million and anything in between. But until next time, I will see you guys later.